Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, so first thing we got to do is fix the camera as usual. Oh man. How are you guys doing this morning? There we go. Hello. Okay, well, today is Tuesday. We had a pretty active day for a Monday yesterday. Donald Trump tweeted a ton of stuff this morning, a bunch of tweets about the trade deal. I think he was kind of trying to talk markets up, but at the same time, it's kind of like I don't think that anything on that front is going to happen for a while. So we might see a little bit of retracement today. I think that would be reasonable if we did. And it might be a little bit quieter of a day. So I am going to be a little bit more cautious. I think that we could still find a trend in this though. So yeah, if we come over to the charts, my charts are like all completely fucked up. Like, look at this. Oh, okay. So the ZN got fixed. I think some of it is still loading. I think you can kind of see though we did have like a move down. It's not gonna let me do it, guys. Sorry, we'll have to look at the charts a little bit later, but you can see from the DOM, like we're towards the bottom of this range. Just here in the past, 10 minutes or so, we've retraced a little bit. Not a ton of volume there on the open from what I could see. So, might be a little quieter. And sorry, the birds are up a little bit early today because my wife has to go into work. But hopefully the children will not be as loud as they were yesterday. Oh my gosh. So I went in and made a, what do we say, this like a highlight video yesterday from my rant yesterday. And oh my gosh, the background noise is so atrocious. So I'm gonna try and maybe fix that sooner rather than later, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it right now, so unfortunately. Also, Bitcoin overnight. I guess we should talk about that. It's still, the Ninja Trader is still loading stuff here. But Bitcoin is being quite volatile now here above 8,000. It's really, really hard to say where this is going to stop because they are well beyond any kind of fundamental level. And I actually still see a little bit of shorts out there possibly to wash out. So I don't think it's out of the question to see another move up, believe it or not. But I mean, they've got to be close. They're just way too high, and it's a little scary to me because you're gonna get a situation where we just had a bubble, and it's a really, really big bubble, and there appears that there could be some fraud involved in this bubble, and we're not anywhere close to where we were in the last bubble. So you have a bubble that failed to make a new high. That's probably going to make a really nasty impact on Bitcoin sentiment in the long run. So yeah. Let's see here. Just double check. Where is my here we go. Let's pull up all this stuff. Baron Rothschild asks about Monero. Okay, so believe it or not, Baron, you are actually the first person to ask me about Monero. And Monero is a particularly interesting Bitcoin to me because I cannot do the fundamental analysis that I do that looks at the blockchain value that's actually being transacted. I can't do it with Monero because the amounts are encrypted. So I can't see how much money is actually being transacted with Monero to say if it's undervalued or overvalued. Although I have noticed that the altcoins tend to have so little volume compared to Bitcoin that their own individual valuations don't really matter all that much. So I think Monero seems like a really good coin to me. I think it's one that's worth putting a little bit of money in if you're diversifying, but the overall market is going to follow Bitcoin. And right now, I can only say don't buy because Bitcoin looks extremely overbought here. Oh, we got the other guys talking now too. Lucas says I sold 125. Unfortunately, it didn't go. Yeah, ticked up. I don't know. I think that, well, right now we are above the open there, and there is a little bit of long volume. So I'm going to have to say that the trend is long. I would not be surprised though if we saw a test of lows later today, but for now I can't. I don't think I can sell it. I think at least for the time being, the trend appears to be short. Now, sorry, the trend appears to be long. Now, part of that, I think we're facing up appears to be that the E-minis are kind of testing down. If I'm going to be my own bank, I need privacy. Yeah, although sometimes I wonder if Monero is maybe too much privacy. I don't know. There's a balance here between it, right? Like, hold on, let me fix my chair. I'm not close enough. I'm close enough to the microphone. Okay. The thing is, something that I don't think is discussed very often, but I think is a really big plus to Bitcoin, is that everybody can see everything. So I can see exactly how much money, like overall, like I can convert it into US dollars and see every day how much is actually being transacted through the network. And so think about if you could do that with the US economy. Think about all these numbers that we get released every day, what were retail sales, what is the overall GDP increase, things like that. If the whole world worked on Bitcoin, and I don't think that that's ever going to happen, but maybe someday there will be some fiat coin that runs on a blockchain, we wouldn't have to wait every day or, for a news release every month. You could calculate every single one of those variables to the minute, You just look at the blockchain and see all of the transactions and add them up. And I think that that's a big advantage. Now, you need to have privacy. You shouldn't be able to know every transaction that a person makes. I don't want people to know every financial transaction that I've ever made. So there's definitely a balance there. But and maybe there's the case could be made that you can't just have only one coin, but you're right. For you as the consumer, I think it's better to have the privacy. But for me as the economist, it's better to have the transparency. So, but it's an interesting thing. I'm really glad you brought it up, Baron. Upside targets in CB 149.20 to 149.22. Beyond that, I have no clue. And Lucas says no insider trading. I mean, so I was looking at the. I'm trying to figure out like what is going on in Bitcoin. What is there something that I can grab onto that I can look at that give us some clue about when this insanity will end. And one thing that I did see highlighted on the r/BTC subreddit was a look at where the volume is coming from, and the tether is transacting the most volume by far. And I'm sitting here like, who the hell uses Tether? Honestly, if you're in the United States, here's what you do. You have a Coinbase account, you transfer your money to the Coinbase account, you buy Bitcoin, and then you transfer your Bitcoin to a different exchange if you need to, and then you can buy Monero or Coin or whatever it is that you want to get. And then when you want to take it all out, you transfer it back into Bitcoin, transfer it back to Coinbase, and then change it for US dollars, right? And yet, what do we see? Everything is coming through Tether. Now, maybe if you're a whale, you need to use Tether. But then we're saying, oh, okay, you're putting your money into an organization that we know has basically lied to us for the past year. They said that they were backed. Okay, so we're getting pretty good uptrend there. 14 now. I just don't think that I can join this trend. But it is moving, and the E-mini is moving down quite a bit as it does so. So I think that gives a reasonable explanation. What is the currencies doing? Okay, the 6J is pointed up as well. Quite a move there in 6J. And if 6J made a new high, okay, so I'm going to highlight that in Discord there. Seth, where can I see your broker clock time? Not sure what you mean. I do know that my clock does not seem to be completely correlated with the markets. So we were looking at that yesterday, and it seems like my clock is about 10 seconds too slow. I don't know how to fix that. Adjust date time. Let's research this, because I just don't think I can be involved in this long. Date and time. Set time automatically. Let's try the control panel. Here we go. Internet time was successfully synced. Server. Let's try the government one. Okay. It says we're synced. I'm pretty sure that I'm like 10 seconds off from the exchange, though. The data feed time. Like I could change, maybe you're saying I could go in here and I could say display the time and which one did I do it on? And then next time an order comes through, wait, did I do it on this one? Yeah, let's not do it on this one because you're not going to see anything. Let's do it on this one. Bring it down here. Display time. And it could show it on the type. They're going to go for the highs. Okay, well, so they are zippering at 14. 5-year. My robot might actually want to take a trade here soon. Let's see. Let's see if it goes for it. There. Now you can see a time. Like that. Oh, it actually says that we're close. But maybe that's using my time. Maybe that's my time, so maybe not. Yeah, I don't think that that's the exchange time. I should go into a NinjaTrader and make a few indicators to that effect, because I'm wondering I can do some things to say, when an order comes through, do certain things, like if they're all at the same time, do this, and I in particular I'll want to see slippage in ES. So places where it moved across the price without any orders hitting, because I know that I've seen that. And some people in the Facebook group were kind of questioning, like, oh, that doesn't happen. I haven't had any problems. Well, just because you don't have any problems doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And you're probably not watching a DOM, so you don't actually know. But you can see right here, just looking at the DOM, I can see places where it traded through and there are no prints. No prints, right? Did you find it hard to bump from 1 lot to 2 lots? I'm doing well, but I kind of don't want to step out of my comfort zone. He's asking Uzi. I mean, it's an interesting question, because when I move to 2 lots, sometimes I have a hard time. I mean, I think part of the issue is just really having enough margin, but it is easier to trade 2 lots. Can tell you that much. If you have a good scaling out strategy, it is easier to be profitable with 2 lots. Because you can, take one of them off almost immediately and then use that as a little bit of extra room so that, you can just break even. Okay, so a bit of iceberging here between 14 and 14.5. They ticked it down. It didn't hold. Yeah, it's double the risk. It's not the same as going 2 to 3 because it's 50%. Well, that's where I'm saying, like let's say that you have $1,000 account and you make $500 on that $1,000 account, and so then you say, oh, I'm going to trade 2 contracts. It's not going to work, right? If it took you, if for you to trade comfortably, let's use better numbers. Let's say we're going to be super responsible. I'm going to guess that a lot of people listening maybe started trading futures with less, and that's totally okay. Just realize that it's much more risky. But let's say that you had $5,000 to trade one contract in the 10-year, right? Well, then for me to justify trading two contracts, I think you should have $10,000 because that's how much you want to make it so that you can lose like 50 times in a row and not blow out your account. If you have enough of money in your account, then it's much easier. And then once you've gone beyond two, then you can start to say, okay, I've made $500,000. I can add another contract. Then you can start leveraging up. From a comfort zone perspective, yeah, it was tough. Other than that, I look at it the same way, anywhere from 1 to 7 lots, depending on my confidence in a trade. And I definitely think that's the right way. At least my experience so far was the same, that you want to scale up when you're confident. Yeah, but I don't want to keep trading until you lose 15 times in a row. Yeah. Well, if you've lost the equivalent of 16 ticks in a month in ZN, you're probably doing something wrong. That's when I stopped. I didn't blow the account, but it got to the point where I was uncomfortable trading it because I had lost more than 16 ticks. And so I said, I'm not doing something right. I stopped. And then since then, I've traded it a little bit. So like, I did trade it yesterday, but I'm actually going to switch over. I might still take an MES trade, but I'm not very confident in this area, even though I do feel that they're going to go for highs. The market gets all wonky for the summer, so I'm not exactly slinging yards over here right now. This month so far, I haven't busted 3 contracts. Oh. Risk is tricky stuff. When I was doing the 1 trade a day thing, it gets really easy to lose 4 days in a row since each day is different. Oh, I bet. But you were hitting super high probability when you were doing that. And you've been trading for a very, very long time. Zero Hedge tweeting, tired Trump Fed watcher wired Trump PBOC watcher. I thought that Trump's comments on trade with China were interesting because they appeared to be an attempt to talk the markets up, but I didn't necessarily personally didn't read it as super positive, because it was kind of like, well, maybe in 3 weeks we'll get some more information on whether or not a trade deal can happen, but we're okay if a trade deal doesn't happen, was what he was saying. And I think probably he's right. Like, in the long run, I think that the United States is okay without a trade deal. For the election, I think if it's all happening right now, the markets can probably get over it before the election. But in the short term, not getting a trade deal is very, very bad. Monero block stats transfer average. Transaction average. Average transactions per block. Yeah. So this is another thing that's been really interesting, is that so let me show you a different one. So let me show you the one that I look at for Bitcoin. So here is estimated USD transaction value. So this is like, oh, I have to go like way further back than that, don't I? Okay, here we go. This is like taking the value of all of the transactions and adding them together. So if people make larger transactions, then it's going to be more. And I've noticed that you will come out and you will see people say stats like, oh, the number of transactions is at an all-time high. But then when you look at the actual amount of money being transferred, it's less, which I think is very interesting. And I kind of suspect that in some instances those numbers are being manipulated or pumped up. So that's why I think that the actual amount being transacted is more important. You can't look at that in Monero because the amount of money that's changed is obfuscated from us. I'm not saying that word correctly. Like, say you make your stops 1 tick, you'll get hit all the time, right? So you make it 4 for some breathing room, but if you're risking 4, you want to make at least 8, right? But what are the odds of getting 8? The same issue just scales up more and more. Well, that's where one of the mistakes that I made early on was I had heard that 1 to 2 ratio. Okay, so they did move up there. But I think for scalping that it's okay to do 1 to 1.5. So it's okay to risk 2 to make 3. I improve my win percentage just by allowing trades to breathe and maybe go 2 ticks against me as long as I see the market still in my favor. If you give up after losing 1 trade in a day, which I was doing at one point, is actually worse in the long run. Sometimes you start a day down, but you can finish the day up. If you give up after 1, you just wind up losing 1 trade a day for multiple days. But more activity in general is not a bad thing. No, it's not a bad thing, for sure. It's not a bad thing, but it might not actually mean anything at all. It might mean that somebody's running a mixer that's just shuffling transactions around, or people are spamming transactions with little bits of amounts because they're trying to trick people that are looking at that as a metric into thinking that something is happening when it's not, you know? And that's where I'm saying, like, you could see in that chart, it is moving up a little bit, but there's not nearly as much money going through as there was during the last bubble, you know? Order flow, technical analysis, the auction process, all easy as far as I'm concerned, but perfecting risk is like the forever journey. Can I see your time in cells without filter for 1 minute, including seconds? Okay, so let's come back over here and bring this up. And if I add time, I don't actually, well, I can show seconds. I don't think I can show milliseconds. Okay, so it does match up second for second with my clock. That's why I think that the clock down here is correct, because I think that based on when I've seen things happening with news and stuff like that, I'm like 10 seconds slow. If I'm risking 5 to make 8 at the moment, for example, and all I know, I could change that as the market changes. Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting thing where it's like, okay, the range in the market has decreased, so now you really do have to be in a period where for 30 minutes you might be risking 2 to make 3, and then do you size up or not? But my experience has been, generally speaking, no, because when that happens, there's just less opportunity in the market in general. The market's not moving. There's not as much available for us. So you should reduce your size, not increase it. even though I think some people do that. But I think that was that was the really big revelation that I made that helped me get out of the rut that I was in last summer, was realizing that there is simply more opportunity for retail traders when the market is active. Think of it as like it's we like to think of it as a zero sum game, but it's not really a zero sum game. The big players that come into this market that are hedging and whatnot, some of them expect to lose money. It's a hedge, which means that one part of their hedge is going to lose money. So every time that one of those guys come in and they make a hedge, that's like money going into the pool. And then you can take that amount and divide it amongst all of the locals, you know, and that part is the zero sum game. So the more money that's coming into the pool, the more there is potentially available for you. And so you should adjust your trading. Sorry, I had mess close, over it there. So you should adjust your trading based on how much opportunity there actually is. When it comes to size and risk, there's no universal rule. We got to adapt market changes, and really that's the hardest part of all this. Yeah, and it's going to be specific to your strategy too, right? Previous time, there's a lot more traffic between Bitcoin and altcoins. Yeah. By the way, hi Bubba. Or Baba Bubba. I think that's a new name, so welcome to our lovely little chat room here. Yeah, I mean, really, if you guys have any idea, like if there was a lot of volume coming from Chinese investors, where would you see it? Because in the past, I would look at, like when it was coming from Korea, for instance, you could see it very, very clearly because those particular exchanges were trading tons of volume and stuff like that. But when I look down through it, like every website metric that I look at, what I see is Tether. Like it's all Tether. And that freaks me out. Because you don't know if they gave somebody a ton of money or sorry, if somebody purchased a ton of money because they're a whale and that's the only way that they can really get that much money into the market. That, or they just printed some because they can. And there's no way to know how much of it is actually real. And then people say, well, Chinese investors are trying to diversify. Well, man, if you're a Chinese investor and you're concerned about your money and you're concerned that money is leaving China and so you want to diversify, putting it into Bitcoin is probably the last place that I would put it. Because this thing could drop 80% tonight. And what are you going to do? You have no recourse. There's no way to get out quickly, especially if you're a big guy. It's a very illiquid market. If you're scared, the worst thing that you could do is go and put your money in the most speculative asset that this world has ever seen. Right? So I think that the entire assertion to begin with is ridiculous. And then I look at the volume and I'm like, so where's the proof that that's what's happening? Sounds to me like a theory with no evidence. Maybe somebody has it. I would really like to see if somebody has some ideas, because I'm sure that there's got to be something somewhere. But I can't. I looked, I couldn't find it. But people always prove me wrong. The other day they were talking about Talib made some comments about the Holocaust that were ill-advised, but were kind of blown out of proportion by some people because they were saying it as like that she felt calmed by the Holocaust, which is not really what she said. And I'm like, well, what news outlet is saying that? Because none of the conservative blogs took that um, took that line. But then somebody did show me a newspaper where they used exactly that headline. But it was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, clickbait. Okay, so Baron, the shitcoins won't rise this time. People know now, and finance play it safe. Last bull was like Silicon Valley boom in the beginning of the internet. This time, only coins that produce will stay alive. I think you might have a point with that. And the Bitcoin dominance has been behaving oddly too, hasn't it? But when it went through at first, we kind of saw that altcoins weren't rising with it. And so we thought, well, this could be like a pump and dump. But now in the past week, in this second run of this, I would say, second and third runs up on highs, um, we have seen altcoins change. So maybe it's not. Maybe people did buy Bitcoin and now they diversified into some altcoins. What would be the point in risking 5 when I know it can keep going higher? Yeah. Well, so far this market looks like a range-bound market. So the open, recall, was at 11.5. They are appearing to try and make it back there, but we have the VWAP to contend with first. By the way, did you get what you wanted to see from my tape? Were you just trying to see how far delayed we were, or? If you get too paranoid with order flow, you can also wind up killing good trades in the long run. Yeah. This is the difficult thing with trading, is that I really don't think that there's anything out there. I really don't think there's anything out there that's a silver bullet. Everything is contextual. And it's like they know they know that the market conditions um, favor this kind of investing, and so trading. The market action was going to favor a certain kind of strategy, and so they will put out, like, they will make it look like, say we're going to move down. They'll come in and they'll say, okay, well, what are some strategies that aren't going to work very well in this particular location? And maybe it's going to be following market orders. In this kind of action, I think that your market orders are going to be less reliable. So they'll go in and they'll do something where they make it seem like the market orders are really, really going long, and all the time they're absorbing on the offer instead. And then it moves down, and that's how they catch you. So the game is all about getting the people that are at the disadvantage to not realize that they're at a disadvantage. You get into a long trade and a couple block sales hit it against you, and you might kill the trade for, say, 1 to 2 ticks, right? But 45 minutes later, the same trade is up 10 to, yeah. Yeah. Because then it's the opposite thing, is that when it's going to, like, really run, that they go and they say, oh look, it's really range bound. I know that there's a lot of market orders buying, but this isn't going to go. The limit orders are totally winning out, and it stays like that until the gig is up and we move up, and then you're like, oh no, and then they'll have a stopping point, and then you don't really know if it's going to go up or down, and then they'll move for another 4. Or if you don't, and then you retrace the whole thing. Or it goes range bound again, and you're like, what the? That's why I say, like, the whole game here is getting the person that's at a disadvantage to not realize that they're at a disadvantage. So you've got to know when your strategy works and when it doesn't. I know that my strategy doesn't work when it's range bound. Right now, it's range bound. There's a decent amount of liquidity on the DOM, but it's not moving. We had a little bit of a move up. It was kind of tepid. It's almost completely retraced. This is where I would take a ton of trades and screw it up like I would have taken one on the open. Maybe it would have made some money on it, and then I would have said, oh, it can go further at 14, and now it'd be coming out and I'd be getting out. And now it's coming back to the VWAP, and maybe I think, okay, I think I can buy it at the VWAP and see if it bounces, or buy it at the open and see if it bounces, and it's going to go through it. So then I'm going to try and reverse to go for the lows, and that's when they're going to turn around on me again, right? Like I can already see it playing out in my head, so that's why I'm just out, because I don't actually have an edge in this kind of action. There's got to be a balance between risking way too much and cutting trades because of the 8 trillion changes in order flow we see a day. I see what you were saying. I see exactly that all the time and wonder sometimes why exit if after a while it just trades higher or lower my entry price. Yeah, but that's... Well, think of it this way. Think about what's going on in the cryptocurrency space, right? I mean, good grief. We've like doubled. You could have made some pretty good money if you went into Bitcoin Cash, which I kind of considered doing actually, because even though I wasn't sure, even though Bitcoin looked overvalued, I thought that Bitcoin Cash was oversold during that whole fork thing. You could have made 4 times your money, right? That's awfully hard to miss out on. But when I look at my indicator, it says like we're overbought. So if we're overbought, then what's pushing us up? Speculation. So how do I know what's a safe place to buy it at? I don't. It's all speculation. So as far as I'm concerned, it's random. So yeah, you could have bought it and it might have been a good trade, but that doesn't mean that you should trade it, right? You've got to know, just because it moved and you could have made money doesn't mean that you had to have been in that one. You have to have an edge. Right now, I don't know if I have one. I mean, I can try doing the opposite thing. So if it is all opposites stay, then what we should be doing here is we get a little bit of a bounce off of the VWAP, and then they're going to go through it. But see, every time that I've ever tried doing that, it never works out. I mean, we're intraday trading, so realistically, everything is a short-term move. Yeah. When NinjaTrader was reloading some historical data, I dropped a few frames. 40 frames dropped. By the way, can I move this? I'm going to move this back up because it's going to get in time where we're going to need to be able to see everything. Also, this move perfectly correlated with ES and currencies. I'm actually, the correlations that I'm seeing with everything here is like too much. The 6J turned on a dime there. Treasuries moved down, 6J moved down. E-mini pivoted as it happened. It's all just correlation. So that's another thing, is like we're looking at order flow. Pretty hard to... So Ace wants to go short. Well, I see a kind of a head and shoulders kind of pattern here. And I think that if we get below 20, it could maybe run a little bit. I'm not seeing a spot necessarily. And also the mess seems to be leading us again. Okay. So at that price, they were taking it. So they're offering it at 28, 21, 25. And they come up in that hold. So when we took that trade yesterday, I saw something at the price that Ace pointed out, and I'm looking for that again. There's a lot of buying in the 30-year, by the way, which is interesting as well. It seems like the spread is flattening a little bit today, just a little bit. U.S. cross-party Brexit talks look close to collapse. That's not good. Peter Schiff, the writing's on the wall for the economy. Oh, so always so negative. There's an iceberg right here. Okay, so we're trading some volume around here at 28.22. Okay. So that one's... See, that was kind of the sort of a thing that I saw. Except for that it stopped, and I was like, oh, I'm never going to get my price. I do think that we could potentially retrace up to 28.43. Or 28.37. There's a little spike there too. And I'm not necessarily seeing it. We're kind of like right on an edge of like a cliff here, and they're pretty lackadaisical about it. Notice here, for instance, that should be pretty easy to sell through 28.22 here, and nobody wanted to sell. And when they did sell, a pretty decent number of contracts end up actually trading. Oh, 26 that time. Should be on bears. Let's go. And they don't seem to be doing it. Okay, so that was a little different. Hmm. Treasuries are in like the worst spot right now, too, which would often guide my bias. And I'm just not seeing it. Okay. The bids below us are actually getting thicker. Hmm. I like the enthusiasm. I might bring the yes and go short too. Okay, there was something. Just make sure you get a good entry, yeah. Well, especially if you're going to trade the micros because there's that slippage and stuff. It's very interesting. Look at how much. So there's a little difference between the micro futures and the E-mini, isn't there? So quite a bit traded through here. But when we look at the E-mini, it's not a significant thing. Yeah, there's now it's doing it right there. They didn't trade it, but let's see, and tick down. He took 28, 23.75. Oh, when was it at 28, 23? That was when it took the drop. So that was way further back. Well, maybe that's not why I'm not seeing anything that particularly tickles my fancy. Well, at least not short. Okay. See, you'll get this thing where the liquidity in the mess will follow it down 2 or 3 ticks, and then when they get any kind of uptick, it like completely pulls. Alligator says it seems to me a yes is a bit lagging. Yeah, it was at 7:03 our time. I get you. It's fine. Well, I've been watching it because we were saying, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of edge here in the treasuries right now. So maybe we would get a good opportunity in E-minis. But E-minis, I don't know. When I took the one yesterday, he came in, but I had kind of been thinking about it. And I looked at the price that he mentioned and I saw something there and I felt really confident in it. But when I'm looking at this today, it just doesn't seem to match up. But this could all just be in my head, right? No middle ground. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and activists take aim at Joe Biden at the Green New Deal rally. The only question is, will Bitcoin stop at 10K? Man, I mean, if Bitcoin makes it to 10K, that's insane. I do think, I think that if you make calls in chat for the purpose of like, hey guys, I'm a smart trader, you should follow my trades, that it can be counterproductive to you personally, right? Because you simply can't do it without your ego getting involved, right? But when you start doing it for accountability, like here I'm trading live, and I've got 2 dozen people watching me. That's a lot. I have a lot of accountability. I probably have more accountability than almost any other retail trader ever. I'm probably not the most, but definitely more than your average person, right? And it's benefited me a lot. The Fed is about to print trillions. I don't know about that. They are holding off on unwinding their assets. I don't think they're printing. We'll see if they end up doing a rate cut later this year. I think if given the trade war stuff, I think that the probabilities that we have right now, where it's like 40% chance that they lower, I think is priced in about right now, personally. Well, it's getting too close to the E-mini going for me to take this, so I want to try something else here. Well, we'll do something else here. Oh, you know what? Let's get rid of this. What color is it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Background color 04354. $43.54. Done. Okay. Next DJI target I have is 18K. Yeah, so I have no clue how far it's going to go. My indicator has been flashing extremely overbought for quite some time now. It is now like at the same levels that it was at the last crash. And so, historically speaking, it's probably going to crash in the next month, but it's behaving very, very differently. And so I can only say that I don't want to be in it. If I had happened to buy it, which I didn't, I would be taking some profits, at least have half of it off by now. And who knows how far it can go, but there is more than enough, what do we say, people stuck here that it could flip on its head. And all it would take is a little bit of a shove and everybody's just going to panic and get out. Okay, so we're going to do this and we're going to take a recording here. So I was thinking about the trade war stuff, and Donald Trump, he said a bunch of stuff this morning, but it's really kind of like maybe in 3 weeks we'll know. But I think that things have really changed in this trade war thing. How do I go about starting this? I think that you might start to see a slightly different line taken by the administration and kind of some of the more like Donald Trump supporting activists online. And I think that the change that you might see is there's a question, I think that there's a legitimate question out here with this trade war thing. And the question that I would like to pose to you is, should we actually be trading with China at all? So think about this trade deal that we've got going on right now. What is it that the United States wants? Well, I think that there's 3 pillars that I've seen in the asks that the U.S. administration wants in a trade deal. 3 key things. So the first thing is that they want China to stop fudging the numbers and manipulating their currency, right? So basically, I'm going to say this is, if I can get this to come here, no lying. That's their first ask, is they want the Chinese to stop lying, right? The second thing is they want the Chinese to respect their intellectual property rights, because they're stealing patents, and in some cases there are like forced ownership transfers and things like that. So I'm going to say no stealing, right? That's the second thing. And then the third thing is they want a actual enforcement mechanism, so that if Chinese break the deal, that they'll actually get punished for it. Because right now it seems like they are breaking, even what's in past agreements, and there's absolutely no accountability. So I'm calling that no cheating. Oops. Okay. So these are the 3 things that the United States wants out of a trade deal. And what happened? What did the Chinese say? Well, we're not going to do a trade deal that is, not as advantageous for us as what's already been going on, right? So think about what that really means. Oh, hey, we think that you should be a fair and honest trade partner. And the Chinese says, I don't know if we actually want to do that. Like really? The United States wants you to stop lying, stop stealing, stop cheating, and China doesn't want to go through with it. At that point, you really have to wonder, should we be trading with them at all? Because I think when I was a kid and you were at somebody's house and you were playing, and maybe you wanted to play with a toy or whatever, and they weren't being very fair, they were lying, stealing, or cheating from you, you stop going over to that friend's house. You don't play with them anymore. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do anything rash and that we should just, ban all Chinese products today or anything like that. But I do think that there is a legitimate question here that if we do not get a trade deal from China, should we really be trading with them at all? I think it's just kind of like an open question there for you. So that is kind of like my rant for the day. Okay, so let's talk about some of this cryptocurrency stuff that you guys are talking about over here again. Now that I got that, I'm going to stop this. And bring back my Vista charts. Okay. So they're saying China is devaluing the yuan as we speak. Yes. Deutsche Bank is about to collapse. Look at the chart today. You know, that one has been going on. People have been saying that for months, and nothing has happened. I think you might be like 3 months late to the trade, buddy. Because that was something I remember. Actually, 5 months, right? That was something I remember people saying when it was like the December crash, right? They're talking about Deutsche Bank. The Eurozone is going to fall apart, and Deutsche Bank is like insolvent and stuff. And it never happened. It would be pretty crazy if they actually were insolvent and they were able to keep it under wraps for this long at this point. I don't know. This is very curious. So the treasuries have basically zippered here at 13.5 now. The E-mini basically went nowhere. May is normally the start of a bull run in cryptos. DB is the trigger. So there normally is a pump around consensus, and it definitely happened this time, right? But I would state again, just so it seems like there's a lot of new people around this morning looking at cryptos, and I think that tells you something already, because honestly, for the past like 6 months, we've hardly heard a peep out of anybody about cryptocurrencies, even though I mention it every day a little bit. And I post my Patreon every day. So if you want to see like my day by day thoughts, I post a note every day with my chart and kind of a order flow positioning analysis of what I'm seeing in Bitcoin. But to give you because we're where we're at. I mean, if we were nearing a spot where I thought we would buy, I would be tight-lipped. But when we're at a sell, I kind of want everybody to know. So I'm gonna come in here and pull up the chart. Where is it? Excuse me. My stomach is kind of being a little. You know what? Let's just generate the new one. Generate charts. Deutsche Bank stock is currently under $8. Meh. To me, it looks like that the E-mini wants to buy this morning. Okay. Oh, it totally gave it to me too. Totally gave me one. Okay, so we're at 170. Cool. All right, so here's my chart. So what are you looking at is I am taking the amount of money that is actually being transacted on the blockchain, and I'm doing a bunch of filtering and adjustments and magic to it that I'm not going to go into, because that's where the edge is, and I'm comparing it to the current price. And you can see that this analysis has been extremely effective at predicting major tops in Bitcoin. You can see them here. I will highlight them for you. Here is the first. This was the what do we call it? This was the Silk Road. Oh, you know what? I need to get you a darker color there. Maybe blue. No, not even that. Black. Black. There we go. Okay. So that was the Silk Road bubble, right? This was the Mt. Gox bubble. The Mt. Gox bubble was the biggest bubble that we ever had from this indicator, okay? And this was right here, what do we call that? The flag, the bear flag / bull trap that happened after the cryptocurrency run, okay? And then this right here is the futures bubble that occurred in 2017. And ever since, so then this one right here is the bull trap, okay? But now we're getting something else. We're getting a third run again. It's being pumped down. I suspect that there is manipulation going on in Bitcoin. There's simply, it never look down here on the bottom side. When we come down to here, okay, that's like oversold, okay? But here we got down back to what you could consider reasonable value, but not much further. And they immediately started pumping it again. Yeah. So anyways, so I don't know if you were talking to me, but Shalom Dunn says the main problem with technical analysis is that it does not work. So I'm actually planning on doing a video about that, but I would agree that technical analysis does not work, or at least it does not have an edge on its own. Okay, but what we're doing is not technical analysis. This is not technical analysis. This is not some, moving average price calculated. This is what is actually happening on the blockchain, right? This is what's actually happening in there. And what is actually happening is that people are buying Bitcoin as a speculation and they're not using it. That's why the chart says what it says. So that they're not using it. So, historically speaking, and I mean, look, you can see it right here. I have a pretty fucking good track record, right? Here, 5 times now. And then you can also look at the buys, okay? Buy here, buy here. It gave us a buy here, which actually did work out. That one I don't think I consider a buy, but whatever. Okay. It has a really good historical track record, even though there's not a ton of data points. But it's a new thing. Eventually, at some point, it's going to not work, but it has as good of a track record as you could possibly have for Bitcoin, right? Right? I think that Bitcoin's going to crash in the next month. You've been warned. Don't anybody say that Seth didn't say anything. Oh, Seth, you had this incredibly predictive method of valuing Bitcoin. Like basically, Nobel Prize winning level type model here, and you kept it to yourself, and you didn't tell anybody that we were in a bubble and they were going to fall down. You're so irresponsible. No. I said it. I say it every fucking day. They keep buying it. I'm telling you, they can keep buying it. There's no reason, as long as people are going to come in and buy it, it's going to go up. But there is absolutely no fundamental value to be able to maintain these prices, and they will not be able to hold it. And it is going to come completely back, and it is going to be ugly. It is going to be so ugly. Because not only is this whole thing probably manipulated, possibly by Bitfinex and Tether, it appears, based on my volume analysis and the data that I've seen, that the volume is almost all from Tether. And I don't think that they're done either. So it could potentially go a little bit further. Okay? But we are in a bubble. And when this bubble crashes, it is going to be a complete disaster. And I've been saying it every day. I go and I post that note, so we have a really good, journal there. We've been saying it for the past 6 months. Stay out of this one. Yes, it could go up. It's not worth it. When it goes down, you are not going to be able to get out. You are not going to be able to get out. It's not going to be like the last time where it was like, okay, we're at 20,000. Oh no, now we're at 15K. Well, I guess maybe I should sell. And then, a week later it's a 6K. No, it's going to be like you're going to wake up tomorrow and it's going to be worth $1,000. Not even joking. That is how crazy this thing is. Justice for Germans says you suckered me in with your thumbnail after the second attempt. So Justice for Germans, that is so fucking hilarious, because what we did, I've been doing all this research and stuff about what are some things that we can do to grow the channel, and because I want to actually, my kids want to do stuff on YouTube. And so I've been learning a bunch of stuff for my kids so that they can have YouTube channels. Although I don't think they know what kind of content they want to have yet, but they want to make YouTube videos. So I'm like, okay, what do we got to do? And one of the things that I learned was that you got to have a good thumbnail, and I didn't have a good thumbnail. So we came in and we did it collectively, like together on stream, and we're like, okay, let's make the most clickbaity thumbnail that we can possibly make. And we picked that bright green color to highlight the outside of it, because that's the color that your eye is most sensitive to. It was like we totally clickbaited it in. So and I saw immediate results from it too, by the way. And then I also changed the format of my political videos, and we saw a big bump from that as well. So I have to say, Justice for Germans, that to hear that it worked on you. Brings me joy, but I also hope that you find the content that we actually have here useful. I'm not here for people to follow my trades or anything. It's kind of more just like a room for us to all hang out in and commiserate with. But I'm glad to have you. If you don't know why Bitcoin is going up in the first place, you are on the wrong side of the trade. Well, so I can tell you why it's going up, right? It's people are buying it. But the reason that people are buying it is because they're speculating. So that's kind of the thing, is like, if it's moving up based on speculation, and speculation is the only reason that's moving it, how do you know where it's going to stop? You cannot possibly know. I can only know that there's a certain point at which you are so far beyond the actual activity on the blockchain that you just don't have enough underlying buying activity to support you anymore. And so unless you're able to get more people to buy in which case you would start to see those transactions actually happening, but we're not actually seeing them. It goes up and we don't see them. I also can't resist clicking on those that say whatever, and this is what happened. That's great. So I made a highlight video from yesterday about Game of Thrones. So you can go and watch that video. It's only like 3 minutes. So I'm interested to see how many people end up clicking on that one. I didn't do the highlight, but I did make a little thumbnail for it. NVT at all-time highs. Yeah, it's crazy overbought, dude. The deep pool. The deep pool is run by Soros and the Illuminati, who are stashing gold on the moon. NASA is run by the Rothschilds. Oh man, I love the conspiracy theory stuff, guys. We need to get into the conspiracy theory stuff more often again. Okay, so we're back to the open in Treasuries. We're at an okay time. I think that my read on the E-mini there was right. We did buy. It wasn't like super crazy though. Look, they bought it. There was a little bit of a sell. It looks like that those guys got screwed. I don't see them stopping out yet, but they got screwed. I don't eat breakfast unless the Rothschilds tell me to. Oh, man. We were talking about that the other day because we're, it's like saying, like I want to make YouTube videos for my kids and everything, but like I got to be careful because there's globalists watching out there, and the last thing that I need is one of my children to be kidnapped by Hillary Clinton or something. You know what I'm saying? So be careful what you guys say. We don't want to upset the globalists, for sure. They're watching, right? They sit there and they look at it and they say, "Oh, Seth thinks that Bitcoin is overbought." He's actually totally right. That's why we need to pump it up a little bit more, just in case, just to discredit him or whatever, because we just simply cannot have that. Simply cannot have that. That's what's really going on here. The whales are watching. I mean, I'm tempted to buy 12, but I think I need to stick to that it's incredibly range bound here and that I don't really have an edge. George Soros has entered the chat. Right. Well, we do have normally we get up to about 24 viewers, but we died down a little bit. I say a few crazy things or whatever. I see something a little too Republican, and all the Democrats tune out is what happens. But it's built back up now. Afghanistan, Tunisian Central. Well, so the issue that I continue to have with any argument that is bullish for cryptocurrencies is how come it's not actually resulting in any actual use? If you look at the amount of money that's being transacted on Bitcoin, it's less. It's actually less. And if you look at the volume, what is actually happening? Well, what is actually happening is they're using Tether. Almost all of the volume is Tether. They're using Tether to buy Bitcoin, and then it stays on the exchange.
Order pending.
Okay, so my robot just took a trade there. I don't know if you guys heard that. That was probably like way too effing loud if it did, though. So what did it take? It took it long. Let me double check here. Yeah. You know what? I might want to buy here. After all. Okay. There would be a lot more if Bitcoin wasn't hijacked. Merchant adoption took a dive. Oh, it's a very good point, dude. That they never increased the blockchain really hurt the worth of Bitcoin. It really did. And you can see it if you really start to go into the statistics and if you really look into the blockchain and look at what's happened, you could see it. All of the merchants disappeared and the use just completely disappeared. That was April news right at the bottom. And I'm trying to remember what was happening in April. Oh yes, that's right. There was the whole Bitcoin Cash SV war, and that was what finally broke that bubble. So the thing was, is when you look at the indicator, right, it was saying like, we're going to go through. Okay, so that's not the way that you want to get filled right there. 3,000 against you all of a sudden. And let's see if they, no follow through on it, which is a little curious. The E-mini is going though. But I'm Probably just because of the way that I got filled. Might be a little bit more cautious on this. Okay, so the offer's pulling a little bit. And then Lambo accepted it as payment. That's right. But it was definitely like the people that were actually interested in using the coin for things, they all 100% went to Bitcoin Cash. Absolutely, like that community left. Okay, that was a pretty overly aggressive move there. Oops. In the E-mini. And it created what appears to me to be a crescendo event. But the Treasuries downtick anyways. Okay. Well, this is not looking too good for us here. I think we're going to have to puke. Bitcoin Cash is pure hype. Well, it has more intrinsically more fundamental value to it, right? The only reason that like honestly think about it. Why is Bitcoin worth anything? I mean, yes, people think that it has value, but like what if it was tied to your computer and it was just this hash and you couldn't give it to anybody, right? Would be worthless. Nobody would buy it from you because you wouldn't have any way to give it to them. Only reason that Bitcoin has any value is that you can transfer it. The value of the coin is directly related to how much people are using it to transfer money to each other. That's it. So, if you have a coin like Bitcoin that has a hard limit on how much can actually be transacted with it, I like that uptick. It's not super great though. You have placed an artificial cap on the value of the coin. The only way now that Bitcoin can increase in value beyond the 20K that it hit in the last bubble, the only way that they can get beyond that is if people start making much larger transactions. Much larger transactions. Bitcoin Cash has no such limitation. And they're extremely focused on merchant adoption, which means that people are going to be using it. And if you have more people using it, that means that you're going to have more money available to transact with. That makes it worth more. And so I think in the long run, although it will take people a really, really, really long time to realize it, but I think in the long run that Bitcoin Cash is going to win out. Okay, so they're hitting back into 11.5, but there's an iceberg there. The E-mini definitely peaked there big time. It was interesting that when they did it, that the Treasuries actually went the other way. they downticked first. So somebody was playing with us there for sure. But I think the signal that we got was still good, and it's good that we're bid here out in 2002. But the 12 is not pulling at all, and we do have quite a bit sitting there at 12.5. That concerns me. This is going to be tough to move up. You're regurgitating puppet propaganda. Listen, so here's the larger thing that if you want to come here for cryptocurrencies, all right. I am not a true believer. Like a true believer, and what I define as a true believer is somebody that thinks that like, Bitcoin, it's the future and it's going to take over the world. And eventually we're all going to stop using fiat and it's going to ultimately free us from the central banks and the world will be a better place because of it. And I don't believe any of that nonsense. I mean, look at me. I trade treasuries, right? I understand treasuries. I understand the interest rate cycle and I understand why it's important. And so I have a very different view of that than what the larger cryptocurrency community believes. And so for me, It is 100%. Oh, he wasn't talking to me. It was Shalom. But I'm kind of more talking to the people that were, because I'm with you, Justice. So that's where I'm saying for you other guys, I'm not a true believer, and then I have a very specific theory that my model is based off of, which is that the cryptocurrency is valued based off of use, and we can see that based on use, Bitcoin is massively overbought right now, and the only time that it ever gets to these levels in the past has been manipulation. So, we know that Tether isn't 100% backed. I think it's a pretty good theory that they're manipulating it. Anyways, let's post the video. Maybe I will watch it later. Okay, so 12 is pulled a little bit. Okay, so there they took it. Some stops into 12 half. I remember when I bought Bitcoin in the first place, and it had nothing to do with why Bitcoin Cash was created. Wow. Yeah. So, well, you guys want to argue? That's fine. I don't necessarily care, as long as you're not interfering too much with our regulars. By the way, did any of you guys in a position in the treasuries, or did you stay out of that one? So we do have a tick, and we have an OK bid below us, and there was like what 6K at 12 half that is pulled, and e-minis are selling. They're approaching. Is that the overnight? No. But they are approaching basically where we were when we were possibly considering shorting it. And when we were there in the E-mini, the treasuries were at 13.5. Uzi says that he's still flat. Bitcoin Cash was created to make people rich, no other reason. I don't really believe that. Okay, so that's a bad downtick again. Somebody's definitely fighting it. How long have we been in this? 7 minutes. I think I can be a little bit more patient. There was a good downtick. It was a strong downtick, and the uptick was just a strong back. But the E-mini is ranging around here. So if we're ranging around based off of that, it might be questionable. Back and forth a lot. But at least we got into the right spot of the range. 112 is ending up being the balanced price that they're fighting at, and so we can get out with +1 if we have to, or hopefully we can. I'll provide links, but I can't paste them in here. Yeah, you can paste. I'm okay with you pasting links. You just gotta put like a space in between the HTTP and the rest of it, and then it will let you paste it, and then we can just take the space out. There's also remember, I do have a Discord link. Discord has been a little bit quieter. I think we've been having a lot more activity in the YouTube chat, but for more serious conversation, I do have the Discord, and you can argue in the Bitcoin channel. Or no, we have the horse. So if you want to argue, if you really want to argue, you should go to the horse. Take it to the horse. Yeah, they've traded quite a bit at 12 here now. The E-mini did retrace quite a bit though. See, it's hard. So when it ticks up or down, there's 2,000 following it. And I'm reading that as a good sign, but really it looks like that's just the way that it's ticking today. Bitcoin scaling wars. Yeah, I find it interesting that there's so much animosity and fight over the Bitcoin scaling thing. But my data supports the Bitcoin Cash, guys. My data says that Bitcoin is worth less, that it actually could have gotten higher during that whole bubble and everything, and it would not have gone as low if they had scaled the chain. Because as it stands right now, nobody can make transactions. Can't actually move anything. And if people can't actually move anything, then it prevents rotations. Okay, they did take 12.5 and it was only 1,500 contracts. So we might now people might start to be wising up to what's going on here. The E-mini looks poised to try and sell again. The 13 is pulling. So a little suspicious, actually. Suspiciously much. Let's see if they uptick, if it's a strong uptick or not. The 5-year uptick, but it's not really holding it. Okay, so they upticked 700 contracts. Almost immediately pumps up to 20. Could we push the high of the day? Is my next question. Okay, well, they sold it down. I may have to just consider taking 3. And given that it has been a relatively range-bound day, I think that we do have to keep that on the radar. Getting 3 is about what you'd expect. But this move has been a little bit better. Actually, no, you know what? When I look at cumulative delta, it hasn't moved that much. The 5-year does not look like it's just ready to go gangbusters up there, does it? And in fact, the 13 is actually thicker now. Why is BAT doing so poorly? I don't actually know which one that is. It's interesting. I wonder what it was that. So we got a lot more cryptocurrency people in today, and maybe it's just that there's more interest in the cryptocurrency markets. But I'm wondering if the algorithm is just recommending me some more. I was really thinking that maybe I could take a trade there at 13, but it did not give it to us for very long, did it? It did not give it to us for very long at all. Okay, so that was a really big offer, and then it pulled. What's with that? So it would have felt more comfortable with the 3 or the 4. Roger's been provocative because all the time and money he wasted trying to bank the unbanked in response, the whole community is labeled as scammers. Rogers wasn't even part of its creation. Yeah, I think that Roger, you know what? I've been in his position before. Story time, I guess. I don't feel like I did anything wrong in here, but I do kind of regret going through this. I just feel like I made some of the wrong decisions and that it affected some people. But I used to be super into Unreal Tournament, and this is a game that Epic Games made before Fortnite, right? Right, Fortnite. Good grief. I was really involved in it. I went down to their headquarters and play tested it and had a really good relationship with the developers and everything. But I had a strong opinion about the way that things should be, and I was very vocal about it. And we had a podcast, and we definitely whoa, they just took out 5K just like it was nothing. That's crazy. Okay, well, maybe this 15.5. I see that target up there. Anyways, so I was really vocal about it, and I think I was a little bit too vocal. I feel like that I threw my weight around too much at the beginning, and it kind of, I think that people were what is the word? I think that some people resented that, and in the long run, it ended up being a negative thing for the community. And I think that Roger did the same thing. He saw something that was going on. He had an opinion about it. I think he's right about that thing. but he threw his weight around too much, and as a result, he kind of became the scapegoat, you know, and so that's kind of hurt the Bitcoin Cash adoption, and it's unfortunate. The thing is that I feel like that the Bitcoin subreddit in particular is not very open. They don't allow a whole lot of dissenting opinion, which is not a good. Any time that you're talking about trading and speculation and stuff, and you're entering in a forum that doesn't allow dissent, that's why I'm not like totally banning everybody, even though it's getting a little disruptive. But there has to be discussion, and they shut it down. And then anytime you see people that are trying to promote Bitcoin Cash, they come in and say, you're promoting a scam coin. That's like a big red flag. Why is it that Bitcoin should be any less of a scam than anything else? They're all being bought by Tether. Look at the volume. It's all Tether, guys. It's all Tether. Well, it does not help when you run with fake Tashi. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so the Bitcoin SV thing is, oh my gosh. And every time that I listen to that guy live, I remember when they did the split, I watched that live stream that he had where people were interviewing him. Everything that he said was total bullshit. Like literally, I really think that he is some rich guy that thinks that he's smart and that he can scam everybody. And he's intentionally trying to say like the most crazy, what is the word? Conspiracy theory laden nonsense that he possibly can, in the hopes that the foolish will be attracted to that. That totally was what it feels like when I listen to that guy. And he is 100%. I think that there's been enough proof out there to prove that Craig Wright is not Satoshi. He's lying. 100%. I believe he's lying. Some people think that he's a plant. I mean, I'm kind of a person that I like to talk about conspiracy theories, but I am very, very hard on that you have to have hard proof. And unless you have hard proof, it's just kind of, fun discussion for fun's sake, and it's not a serious discussion. You don't gain anything from it, I don't think. I mean, unless you had hard proof. That's why, like, during this whole Mueller investigation, I was like, okay, everybody says that the president is like a Russian asset, but you don't actually have hard proof for that. So it's just a fun discussion. Same with all the nonsense that we say about the globalists and the Rothschilds and everything. It's because I'm actually secretly a globalist stooge, but don't tell anybody. He said BCH was Bitcoin, not to fool newcomers, but as a political statement, and I don't think he's wrong. Bitcoin should really have been renamed when it changed course. I agree with that. I don't think that the current core developers of Bitcoin are really in doing what Satoshi would be doing if Satoshi was still around and was in charge. That's my take on it. And I think, honestly, that they're trying to do the thing that they think is right. They're trying to do the thing that they think is going to benefit them the most. And you have to put yourself in the position of somebody that's been at the top there, right? How do they make money? Well, one, they make money from providing deals and services to people, one. And two, they make money from other people buying. So in their head, the more people that you can get to buy and the less people that you can get to sell, or, just prevent people from selling in general, then the price is going to go up. And that's why they believe what they do. But they just don't have a large enough fundamental understanding of trading and economics and everything to realize that what they're claiming is total bunk. I watched Coinbase bump Bitcoin Cash to 10K and then opened up trading to the customers after they sold into a live. Oh yeah, totally happened, Shalom. I saw that as well. I don't know if they pumped it, but some insider knew and they bought it up and then they sold it to everybody. And as soon as it went live, it was like straight down from there. Totally something sketchy happened there. Okay, so now the E-mini is starting to push lows again, but it's not just falling through there. And there's still a lot of profit taking at 13. I've been holding this for a while. It's probably okay to hold it. Well, it's 21 minutes. The longer this goes on, though, the worse my probabilities get. I think they are all doing what their banker backers want. They agreed to 2.4 then 8 megabyte block size until they got their investment. Yeah. Well, at some point, here's the thing, is that if I'm right, okay, right now Bitcoin appears to be in a big bubble. And I believe that it is going to crash within the next month. That historically, it's really hard to say like what price and the time frame. It's not very exact, but like we're towards the top and it's going to crash. And we've done this now 3 or 4 times, and it's been incredibly accurate. So if it crashes, then you are looking at the situation where we had a bubble and it failed to make a new high. That is definitely going to affect people's sentiment going forward. And I think that because of that, the Blockstream guys are going to have to take a step back and say, hey, you know what? This isn't working. And maybe they increase the block size. And then what happens at Bitcoin at that point, though, it's kind of interesting, like what happens with Bitcoin Cash. Because then at that point, the argument is that you want to be in it for the people that are involved, and that Blockstream isn't a reliable, trustworthy actor, I guess. But it starts to get really fuzzy at that point, doesn't it? After July is when the price normally pulls back, and then the bull run starts in earnest. I don't think so. And Black actually blamed traders for the high transactions fees today. Oh, really? Well, right, because from their perspective, it's like, well, what are you doing? You just need to buy it and stay in it forever. Wow. So they took 13. Now they're taking 13.5, just like that. There was 8K went through at 13 to hold it down. There was 5K when they traded it the first time. So they've traded the good 13,000. Okay, so now they're doing a reload at 13.5. It appears to be holding for now. The E-mini did not break down, though. Okay. I guess that might be all I get. That was funny, Seth. Yeah. Well, I think that what we saw there was just an iceberg breaking. Yeah, just telling you cycles. Yeah, it's so this goes back to what we were saying earlier. Here's my take on trading. Like, how do you find an edge in trading? Trading is all about tricking the person that doesn't have an edge into taking a trade. That's what it's all about. That the guys that are professionals and they know like absolutely everything about everything, that's the way that they make their money when there's not an actual fundamental move. Okay, took us out. Cool. See, yeah, why does it do that? That I definitely did that all correctly and everything, but it still complains. Okay, so 4 ticks is good, and I think given the way that I'm looking at the chart right now, I think I got the right spot. So I'm glad I was patient. I'm probably going to regret taking that up because maybe they're going to go to 15.5 for the highs, but 13 is going a little weak. I think that I did the right thing. Heidi says sneaky, sneaky. What? What? I didn't do anything sneaky. Did I do something sneaky? Anyways, I did take that live. I was like earlier, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to take any trades. And then my my trading system took a trade. So I said, hey, this is exactly where I would expect to see that happen. So I'm going to take it too. And it worked out. So I'm happy. Anyways, okay. So how do you find edge? The whole trick is the whole thing is to trick the person that doesn't have edge into taking the wrong trade and then shoving them out of it. That's how it works. Because if everybody knew what was going to happen, it would already move to that spot, right? And if it was just random, then it would just go nowhere at that point, right? So what do you have to do? You have to get somebody to make the wrong trade so that you can stop them out and move it up. So at that point, you have to sit down and realize that edge is not a constant thing. It's situational and it changes. Every situation is different, and you have to be able to say what things matter. So to me, right now, does the yearly cycle, is that really a huge edge in Bitcoin right now? Well, why is it moving up? Some people say it's because of Tether. I see some support for that based on my indicator. It appears that it is moving up more than it should. Some people say that it's because people are fleeing China. I don't see volume support for that, but I do think it is a good theory because, the markets are really getting creamed. And there is a lot of correlation there with the Chinese yuan, right? So it's a reasonable theory. I would like to see volume support for it, but it's a reasonable theory. Okay. And two, people just seem to be interested in it. So we're just getting a lot of speculation movement in here. Okay. So with all of that thing in context, does the normal yearly cycle of Bitcoin really matter that much? Well, if we're that overbought, it probably doesn't matter. It probably doesn't matter. If my indicator was much lower and we were like at 100, then I think that you could say, yeah, maybe the normal buying cycle will follow through. I don't know. The whales in crypto are telling people to sell while they buy. Sure, but are they actually saying that right now? Because I think I'm the only person that's saying to sell, and I'm not a whale. I've made at most through trading this indicator, I've made about $1,500 from nothing, of course. So that's actually really, really great. But and I started this from basically October of the bubble, so it's really hard to have made like a ton of money from it, right? I'm no whale. I gave up trading after my 1,000% positive position was liquidated. BitMEX always found ways to not trigger my stops. Oh, dude, that is egregious. Wow. Every single channel said to sell 3K, 4K, 5K, 6K? Really? I don't know. When I go around, I don't watch the YouTube channels, to be honest. Every once in a while, I will troll the YouTube channels for like examples of people saying to buy, so that when I know that it's going to go down, so that I can laugh at them. Okay, like when it did the December route, I remember very well. You can go back and watch the video. It's the most watched video on my YouTube channel. The day that the Bitcoin futures went live, and I said, Bitcoin future means it's easier to sell. So the balance between buyers and sellers is going to change, and Bitcoin is crazy overbought from the speculation hype over this going around. This is like a sell the news event. And I didn't say it like I'm for sure it's going to happen. I said kind of like what I'm saying right now. My indicator says that you should sell. And I was right. I was more right. That was like probably the most right I will ever be in my life. You get what I'm saying? I told people May was the start of a bull run normally, and they laughed. And I still just feel like that this is they printed a bunch of Tether. They printed 300 million in Tether, and then it's been moving up ever since. I don't know how long that can go on for. I just know that it's overbought. Maybe they get to 200. We'll see. If they do, there could be some room for like 10K. Well, now I have to pull out the calculator. So the velocity right now is 39. So 39 times 200 is, oh, we're actually already above that. So if we got to 10,000 and divide by that by 39, that would take us to 200. Oh, yeah. We're not, I don't think we're going to get that high. That would be insane. That would be something super fishy going on at that point. I was pretty confident we'd go sub 5K from 20, but I only sold like 10% of the top because if I sold more, it would pump and I'd have to FOMO back. Huh, that's interesting. Bitfinex does not count for the majority of the trading. Yes, but Tether does. So I'm seeing more volume on Binance, and most of the volume is through Tether. Like that's the highest volume area. Let me show you let me go and find the thing where I saw that. Here it is. Coinex.com. All right, so here I look here, and it shows us exchanges and what is the market's by volume, and it says the USDT accounts for 58%. $12 billion of the volume is from Tether. And then when you come down here and you look at the how much is going through the different exchanges, you got Binance's 800 million, and you've also got some of these other exchanges that I don't really believe their numbers, but that are saying that they're trading 800 million. Yeah, and it goes down from there. And then let's look at the one that I think is the most legitimate, like the most regulated and safest exchange is what? Coinbase Pro. And what are they trading? They traded $8 million US dollars. Oh, sorry. 400 million in US dollars. And price is a little bit less, isn't it? 8,175. No, maybe not. So yeah, that's why I say that it's all Tether. If there was no Tether, the Bitcoin price would be much higher. No, wrong. Absolutely, you have absolutely no statistical proof of that. If 50% of the volume is from Tether, and there was no Tether, then where would the volume come from? Eh? They're gonna put it through Coinbase with fiat? Probably not. Otherwise, they would do it because it's clearly much safer. Speaking of faking out the retail traders, I just saw 1,500 bid in ES and 95 traded. Interesting. Are you seeing? You mean that at 128.36? Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that one out live action because I was too busy yapping to notice that one. I need to stop covering up some of these DOMs because I know that people watching on replay are probably like, Seth, what are you doing? Move it. Are you sure that you're not making a chicken out of a tether? Okay, so Dr. Gert has a good point, which is how do you, so let's just assume for a moment that I'm right that a lot of the volume is from tether. Are we giving it too much importance? There's a lot of other things that are potentially positive, like that some desks are opening up Bitcoin trading and they're going to make it available to retail traders and things like that, right? While the only reason why I give so much precedence to Tether is because I have a valuation model that has a very high historical accuracy that says that Bitcoin is crazy overbought. And the only times in history that Bitcoin has been able to reach levels as high as this on my valuation indicator was instances in which fraud was occurring. And if Tether really is being printed out of thin air, that would be fraud. And so the Tether theory, and I don't think that it's 100% proven. Well, we know that it's fake, but we don't know how much, and it's difficult to say how much of the price increases because of that. But it is the only theory out there that can possibly explain what my indicator is telling me. So that's why I take the position that I do. Like I said, if you look down in the video description, I have a link to my Patreon, so you can check it out. If you subscribe for $5 a month, then you will get to see my notes and my chart every day. And by the way, when it finally does get down to a good value to buy at, and we're close to a bottom, I'm not going to tell you. You have to be subscribing for me to tell you that part. But when it's the selling, I don't care. I want to save you guys, but when it's at the bottom, I'm going to be greedy. Anyways, if you don't subscribe, you still get to see the notes a week later. So you can go back and you can look and see what I said when, and you can see that it's really quite good. Of course, it's not like we know where the top is like down to the day, but it is like I can sit down and say, hey, like, you don't want to be involved in this run. And it's going to go below 6K, and we had to sit there for months and months and months, but we were right. So fraud is occurring in the traditional markets for 40 years. Well, fraud does happen. We do see, we still see spoofs and stuff, unfortunately. And ZN did come back. I'm looking back at this trade that I made, the one trade that I made today, and I'm actually really proud of myself, because that would have been the place where I would have had a really hard time, like really would not want to get out and want to let it run up to 15.5 and then let it come all the way back and scratch it. That's what would have normally happened, but I saw the exit and I took it correctly. So I'm happy. Okay, so I'm going to go and post my Patreon notes right now. Oh, I actually got a couple of notifications here to look at, some comments and stuff, so that's good. Doge. See, Doge looks overbought too. Doge looks like it's about to have a pullback. ETC is at its highest level ever. That's kind of weird. Ethereum itself, though, doesn't look too unusual.
Litecoin is interesting, but I'm not sure I can make a read out of that one. What about my favorite shitcoin? Verge. Verge. Still dead as a doornail. Love it. If I didn't think that the larger market was going to go lower, I would be buying. I would be buying my Verge right now, because the amount of actual use from Verge is crazy compared to what its price is. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. And then what were people saying? Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, so if you want my honest opinion, XMR is the real Bitcoin. Are we going to see a trend day tomorrow? Oh, it's a good question, Lucas. I think that what we're seeing today is a mean reversion day in the E-mini. They are buying it, and they are kind of going for some of the targets that I was looking for. I should have just bought when I was looking at that in the ES, except for that it came back down to it again, and then it would have bounced. So I don't know if it was actually a really good, great trade. Um, so they were saying that they might not know if there's really going to be a trade deal for like 3 weeks. So I think that you might see the markets calm down a ton. The way that it's trading right now is okay, but it's definitely not as much opportunity as it was it? So, um, Wednesday typically you tend to see a little bit more opportunity, but given that we just had like a big rush down and there's not necessarily a fundamental reason for them to be trading it, And let's see here. What is the news tomorrow? There is core retail sales. So we might get a move off of core retail sales. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to.
Order filled.
Okay. And there is my strategy made a tick. It made a tick because it closed it at the end of the session. So that's cool. That's where I say I'm pretty sure that my computer is like 10 seconds behind, because here you can see it. It took it at 8:29:45. But it took it. I wish I could see. Yeah, price. Oh, it actually it took it to break even, but I took it live and made money off of it. So that's interesting. But it would have been hard to know where to take it off. I don't know how I could program it to take it off at the right spot. Anyways, I'd love to talk more about Bitcoin, but I don't really have time for that, and just wanted to make sure that we had our regular treasury stuff taken care of. Anyways, so if you guys could all do me a big favor, if you haven't hit that like button, please do so. And also, I would love to hear how your trading session was today. So scroll down to the bottom of the page and leave me a comment. Actually, I should leave my comment today. Where are we? Over here. Oh, nope, I want to pull. That's not right. I need to just go to YouTube.com/speculator Seth. Here's the, I need to just go. There we go. You can see how delayed we are, 5 seconds. Here we go. I'm glad that my robot identified that trade for me. Markets are much calmer today, though. There's my comment. So let me know how your trading was today, if you did really well or if you did really badly. And I love and respond to every comment that I got. And if you guys want to continue this conversation with Bitcoin, although it's getting like really amorphous, so like we can focus it down, I would love to discuss it with you guys further. And if you have some data that shows us maybe that something is up, I would really love to see it. So please scroll down, leave some comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Wednesday tends to be our best day, so we'll see what happens. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.